BMW's improved 3 Series Coupe gets world-beating engines and even sleeker styling in a package that will make sense to many in the wider mid-sized sports coupe market. Even if you're not the kind of driving enthusiast that this car will satisfy like no other in its class, it's a difficult recipe to resist. Were it not for this BMW, executive coupes would rightly only be seen as laid-back grand tourers. Mercedes, Audi and Infiniti will all sell you a prestigiously badged, stylish two-door, able to waft you down to the south of France, but it won't be much good around Silverstone, or indeed as responsive as you might want on your favourite back road. This 3 Series Coupe is different. This E90 generation model can play the plush GT if you want it to, and does for the majority of owners. Yet since its original launch back in 2006, it's also proved unique in the class in its possession of a deeper range of driving talents. Much of this is down to the focused rear-wheel drive configuration and the silky yet urgent engine range it shares with other 3 Series body shapes. It's a power lineup significantly improved for 2010 in the enhanced and carefully restyled model that we're looking at here. Let's go and drive it. Whether the ultimate driving machine ethos that BMWs really should be all about can be applied to every part of the Bavarian marque's current product range is arguable, but it's certainly an accolade that applies here. You don't have to drive this car very far, nor do you have to be much of an enthusiast to realise that it offers something a little different, something a little more responsive than the usual syrupy, laid-back driving experience offered by executive coupes of this kind. The rear-wheel drive setup is one of the main reasons, of course, but not the only one. All the controls respond that bit more precisely, from the accurate 6-speed gearbox to the direct rack and pinion steering that's so responsive that the optional active steering setup is largely unnecessary. Whether you're on track or merely wish you were, you feel that bit more in control. All the engines on offer have plenty of power and pace. The petrol range starts with the 4-cylinder 320i that sits below 6-cylinder 325 and 330i variants. These in turn sit below the mainstream range's petrol flagship, the 335i, the turbocharged model to which most petrol development work has been directed. Once twin turbo, it's now a single turbo model in a bid to decrease its emissions. And the power output it generates is still a pokey 306 brake horsepower. That's mainly thanks to a high pressure direct fuel injection and BMW's clever Valvetronic variable valve timing system. Now 306 brake horsepower is good enough to jet you from rest to 60 in just 5.5 seconds. And that's quick enough to really make you question the need to spend over £16,000 more to go well under a second faster in the flagship 420 brake horsepower 4-litre V8 M3 model. The 335i's other attribute is the option it offers of a high-tech 7-speed semi-automatic gearbox. It's one of the new dual-clutch variety that pre-selects your next gear before you need it for smoother, faster changes. It's certainly a big improvement on the more conventional 6-speed auto offered as an option elsewhere in the range. As for diesel drivers, well, BMW was the first brand to recognise that they too value high-performance driving satisfaction. Hence the rejuvenated diesel engine range under the bonnet of this car, with this time round most attention directed to the most affordable 320d variant that I'm driving here. Engine output from this 4-cylinder unit is up 7 brake horsepower to 184 bhp, but the really meaningful change is the extra 30 newton meters of torque. With 380 newton meters to play with, you've to order a V6 diesel from rival manufacturers like Mercedes and Audi if you're to really match this BMW's pulling power. 6-cylinder diesel options include the 325d, now also up 7 brake horsepower to 204 bhp. You've got the 245 bhp 330d and the much cleaner 286 brake horsepower 335d diesel flagship. On the move, the ride is a little firmer than Mercedes and Audi drivers will be used to, especially if you opt for the 19-inch alloys that I've got here. As far as refinement's concerned, well, the frameless side windows that are used on this coupe model generate slightly more wind noise than the more conventional doors that you get on a 3 Series saloon or touring. But the cabin's still quiet, and engine noise is kept well down, not thanks to copious soundproofing, but to careful engineering at source. Taut, sleek, muscular, and boasting not a single shared body panel with the 3 Series saloon, this coupe tends to attract many buyers before they even clap eyes on one in the metal. The slightly longer silhouette of this revised version remains low and elongated, giving it an elegance singularly lacking from the button-down saloon. Further recent tweaks to set it apart from more mundane 4- and 5-door 3 Series models include a larger front kidney grille that sits above a restyled front air dam that on plusher models is embellished with aluminium fins. The plastic front wings remain to keep down weight, but the bonnet's slightly different. On the more powerful models, it incorporates a subtle power bulge. There is also redesigned bumpers, front and rear, and improved LED lights at the front and at the back. So that's the aesthetics taken care of. What about the practicalities? Well, the long single doors on each side of the car open widely to make access easy, and to aid access into the rear, the seats tilt and slide well forward so that even older people shouldn't have any trouble getting in. Once you're in the back, with its sculpted pair of seats separated by this fixed centre console, there's decent room for 2 adults unless they're particularly tall. The seats themselves fold forward should you feel the need to extend the capacity of the 440-litre boot. Since the wheel arches intrude a little on the space available and the entry area isn't that great, the seat folding option is welcome. And there's also this useful luggage net to keep stuff from sliding around. Plus you've got a concealed area under the boot floor to keep items away from prying eyes. Take a seat at the wheel and the seatbelt helper offers a sense of importance as an electrically powered arm delivers the belt towards you so you don't have to stretch behind to find it. As ever with BMW, build quality is beyond reproach, and the driving position itself is ideal, with a range of adjustment wide enough to suit the portliest of people. An option not on this car, but one that you might like to consider, is BMW's much improved iDrive control system with its useful shortcut buttons. Though initially a little complex to master, once you've got it, you'll find it much more intuitive to use than rivals' touchscreen systems. Unless you're planning to spend over £50,000 on an M3, list pricing suggests that in the mainstream range you'll be looking to pay from just under £30,000 to just over £40,000 for your 3 Series Coupe. Now, direct comparisons with this model's arch enemies, the Mercedes E-Class Coupe and the Audi A5, are necessarily inexact, since power outputs vary. But having scanned the price lists and spec sheets on your behalf, I can report that a comparable Mercedes E-Class would probably cost around the same, although in some cases might offer you slightly less power, while a comparable Audi A5 might save you around £1,500 unless you're looking at a diesel. The 2.7 litre V6 diesel that Audi needs to rival this 320d BMW will cost around £3,000 more. Many of the reasons for buying this car are to be found beneath its sculpted bonnet. Petrol people can start with the 170 brake horsepower 320i variant, but if you're one of those people that believes that a Beamer should have 6-cylinder power, then you'll want to limit your petrol searches to the 218 brake horsepower 325i, the 272 brake horsepower 330i, or perhaps the much improved turbocharged 306 brake horsepower 335i, the final stepping stone to ownership of the top of the range 420 brake horsepower 4 litre V8 M3 model. As for the diesel range, well, it's been completely rejuvenated, starting with this car, the 184 brake horsepower 4-cylinder 320d. If this really isn't fast enough for you, there's the 204 brake horsepower 325d, the 245 brake horsepower 330d, or one of the fastest diesels in the world, the much cleaner 286 brake horsepower 335d. Whichever 3 Series Coupe model you choose, you should find it to be decently equipped. The standard tally runs to smart alloy wheels, xenon headlamps with built-in daytime running lights, parking sensors, Dakota leather, cruise control, dual zone climate control and a decent quality MP3 compatible CD stereo. The sportily orientated will want to consider paying a premium for M Sport trim, and of course there's a lengthy options list. The 3 Series Coupe may be predictably pricey to buy, but it's surprisingly affordable to run. BMW's clever, efficient dynamics technology with its stop-start engine system to cut your engine in heavy traffic is standard across the range, so that the economy and emissions figures are able to belie the impressive performance that's on offer. Most impressive, perhaps, is the 320d that I've got here that manages 60.1 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and puts out just 125 grams per kilometre of CO2. Even the improved 335d can manage 42.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and put out 174 grams per kilometre of CO2, dropping a VED band to H. The petrols too are just as impressive in their own way. The 43 miles to the gallon 320i puts out 154 grams per kilometre of CO2, while the 335i is 8% more frugal, managing 33.6 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 196 grams per kilometre of CO2, dropping a VED band to J. Impressive stuff. Insurance groupings on the 1 to 50 grouping system range between 29 and 41 for mainstream models. This is a car that didn't need much improvement, but BMW have polished it anyway. The reasons why you'd buy a prestigiously badged coupe in the £30,000 to £45,000 bracket are the reasons you'd buy this one. Good looks, great handling and refined, impressive performance. That this 3 Series Coupe throws in some attributes you might not expect, low running costs, practical space for 4, is another reason why so many potential buyers in this sector are unable to avoid its charms. Developing the ultimate driving machine is a lot more complicated these days, but in creating it, with this model at least, BMW has made one thing quite clear: it's still the master.